Chapter 2. Bullying at School. The gray light of dawn filtered through the curtains, casting a somber hue over Conrad's small bedroom. He lay in bed, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, dreading the day ahead. The weight of his struggle settled upon him like a suffocating blanket, reminding him of the uphill battle he faced each day. With a sigh, Conrad swung his legs over the side of the bed, his movements slow and deliberate. He glanced at the empty space where his grandmother's old rocking chair used to sit, a pang of sadness tightening his chest. Since her passing, the house felt emptier, the absence of her presence a constant reminder of the void in his life. Clutching the bedsheets tightly, Conrad forced himself to push aside the wave of grief threatening to overwhelm him. There was no time for sorrow, no room for self-pity. He had responsibilities to attend to, a life to carve out for himself amidst the chaos. As he dressed in his worn-out clothes, Conrad's gaze fell upon the ancient book resting on his bedside table. It had been a curious discovery in his grandmother's attic, one that he had yet to fully explore. But today, like every other day, it remained nothing more than a forgotten relic, gathering dust in the corner of his room. With a heavy heart, Conrad tucked the book away, its secrets hidden from view once more. He couldn't afford to dwell on mysteries and fantasies, not when reality demanded his full attention. With a resigned sigh, he slung his backpack over his shoulder and made his way downstairs, steeling himself for another day of challenges at school. The halls of the high school buzzed with the energy of students, their laughter and chatter filling the air like a cacophony of sound. Conrad navigated through the crowd, his footsteps echoing in the bustling corridor. Despite the lively atmosphere, he felt a palpable sense of isolation, like a lone island adrift in a sea of faces. As he passed by groups of classmates, Conrad couldn't help but overhear snippets of conversation, their words like barbs aimed at his heart. "Did you see what Conrad's wearing today? It looks like he picked his clothes out of a dumpster," one girl whispered to her friend, their stifled giggles cutting through the air like knives. Conrad clenched his jaw, his fists tightening at his sides as he fought to keep his composure. He knew better than to react to their taunts, but the sting of their words lingered, a constant reminder of his place in the social hierarchy. With a heavy sigh, Conrad trudged onward, his gaze fixed on the floor as he tried to block out the cruel remarks that followed him like a shadow. Despite his best efforts, the weight of their ridicule bore down on him, threatening to crush his spirit beneath its relentless pressure. As he reached his locker, Conrad caught sight of Carol out of the corner of his eye, her presence like a ray of sunshine amidst the stormy sea of high school politics. He offered her a faint smile, grateful for the brief respite from the darkness that threatened to engulf him. But even Carol's warm smile couldn't shield Conrad from the cruel realities of his social status. As he made his way to the cafeteria for lunch, he could feel the weight of judgmental stares boring into him, their silent condemnation like daggers to his heart. Despite the free student meals being his only source of sustenance, Conrad couldn't help but feel a twinge of embarrassment as he queued up for his meal. The whispers and snickers of his classmates only served to fuel his sense of shame, a constant reminder of his place in the pecking order of high school hierarchy. But Conrad refused to let their scorn break him. With every insult hurled his way, he stood a little taller, his resolve strengthening with each passing moment. He may not have the privilege of wealth or status, but he had something far more valuable: resilience. And no amount of mockery could ever take that away from him. The crowded cafeteria buzzed with activity as Conrad stood in line for his meager portion of the day's meal. He tried to ignore the stares and whispers of his classmates, focusing instead on the tray in front of him as he shuffled along the line. Just as he reached the end of the line and turned to find a place to sit, a familiar voice cut through the din of noise. "Conrad!" Turning, Conrad's eyes lit up as he saw Carol making her way towards him, her smile warm and inviting. She held her own tray of food, her presence like a beacon of light in the dimly lit cafeteria. "Hey, Carol!" Conrad greeted, his voice betraying a hint of surprise and pleasure at her unexpected appearance. "I didn't expect to see you here." Carol's smile widened as she reached his table, sliding into the seat beside him with ease. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her tone friendly and genuine. Conrad's heart skipped a beat at her presence, a rush of warmth flooding through him at the sight of her. "Of course, Carol," he replied, a hint of gratitude coloring his words. "It's always nice to see you." As they settled into their seats, Conrad couldn't help but feel a sense of relief wash over him. Despite the challenges he faced every day, Carol's friendship was a constant source of comfort and solace, a reminder that he wasn't alone in his struggles. Together, they shared a meal amidst the hustle and bustle of the cafeteria, their conversation flowing effortlessly as they caught up on each other's lives. For a brief moment, the weight of Conrad's troubles seemed to lift, replaced by the warmth of friendship and camaraderie. And as Conrad glanced at Carol sitting beside him, her smile radiant in the dimly lit cafeteria, he couldn't help but feel a sense of hope stirring within him. No matter what challenges lay ahead, he knew that as long as Carol was by his side, he could face them with courage and determination. Despite Carol's brief respite, the venomous jeers of his classmates continued to pierce Conrad's armor like barbed arrows. In the hallway between classes, a group of boys huddled together, their laughter echoing off the walls like a cruel symphony. "Hey, look! It's Conrad, the charity case!" one of them sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "Yeah, what's he doing here? Shouldn't he be at the soup kitchen?" Another chimed in, eliciting guffaws from the group. Conrad felt the familiar heat rise in his cheeks as he clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. He longed to lash out, to defend himself against their unfounded accusations, but he knew it would only fuel their fire. Ignoring the taunts, he squared his shoulders and continued on his way, each step a defiant declaration of his resilience. But with every snide remark, the weight of their cruelty pressed down upon him like a suffocating blanket, threatening to crush his spirit beneath its weight. And yet, despite the pain and humiliation, Conrad refused to let them see him falter. He drew strength from the fire burning within him, a determination to prove them wrong and rise above the limitations they tried to impose upon him. Just when Conrad thought the day couldn't get any worse, a popular classmate approached him with a smirk. "Hey, Conrad," he drawled, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "You should come to my house party this weekend. It'll be a blast." Conrad's stomach churned as he caught the sneer in the boy's tone. He knew this wasn't an invitation out of goodwill, but a setup for humiliation. Thanks. Yeah, sure, Conrad replied, trying to mask his unease with forced nonchalance. His heart sank as he realized the true intentions behind the invitation. He knew he would be nothing more than a source of entertainment for the elite students, a pawn in their cruel games. But the thought of facing another night of humiliation was unbearable. With a heavy heart, he accepted the invitation, knowing full well what awaited him. "Yeah, sounds great," Conrad muttered, his voice devoid of enthusiasm as he forced himself to agree. As the weekend drew near, Conrad's anxiety festered like a festering wound. He tried to bury himself in his studies, seeking solace in the ancient teachings of the book, but the looming specter of the party hung over him like a dark cloud. Finally, the night of the party arrived, and Conrad found himself standing outside the opulent mansion of his classmate. Laughter and music spilled from the windows, taunting him with the promise of a night he dreaded. With a shaky breath, Conrad stepped inside, steeling himself for the onslaught of mockery and ridicule that awaited him. Sure enough, as soon as Conrad entered the room, the whispers began. He could feel the eyes of the other students boring into him, their gazes filled with disdain and amusement. "Look who decided to grace us with his presence," one of the popular girls sneered, her voice laced with venomous contempt. She glanced at Conrad with narrowed eyes, her lip curling into a disdainful smirk. "I didn't know we were inviting charity cases to the party now." Her words were like venom, poisoning the air around them with their cruelty. Conrad felt the weight of her gaze bearing down on him, each word striking him like a physical blow. "Did you get lost on your way to the soup kitchen, Conrad? Or did you just want a taste of how the other half lives?" The laughter intensified, the taunts like daggers stabbing into Conrad's already wounded pride. "Seriously, what's he even doing here?" Another voice chimed in, dripping with condescension. "Shouldn't he be busy washing dishes or something?" The laughter intensified, the taunts like daggers stabbing into Conrad's already wounded pride. He felt his face flush with humiliation, his fists clenching at his sides as he struggled to maintain his composure. The popular girl's sneer deepened as she took a step closer to Conrad, her gaze cold and calculating. "Well, don't just stand there, charity case. Go fetch us some drinks or something. You know, since you're so good at being a servant." More laughter erupted from the group, each peal ringing in Conrad's ears like a painful reminder of his social standing. He felt his anger simmering beneath the surface, but he knew better than to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. With a clenched jaw and a forced smile, Conrad turned on his heel and made a swift exit from the party, leaving behind the echoes of their mocking laughter. When Conrad staggered into his room, his shoulders heavy with the weight of humiliation, he collapsed onto his bed, tears blurring his vision. Each tear felt like a testament to his failures, a painful reminder of his status as an outsider in a world that seemed determined to crush him. As he lay there, his chest heaving with sobs, his gaze wandered to the ancient book resting on his nightstand. It seemed to beckon to him, its weathered pages whispering promises of power and redemption. With trembling hands, Conrad reached out and picked up the book, cradling it against his chest as if seeking solace in its ancient wisdom. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a spark of hope ignited within him. "I won't let them win," he vowed, his voice hoarse with emotion. "I won't let their cruelty define me." With a newfound determination coursing through his veins, Conrad flipped open the book, his eyes scanning the cryptic symbols and intricate illustrations that adorned its pages. Each word felt like a revelation, a key unlocking the secrets of a world long forgotten. "I'll learn everything," he whispered, his voice barely more than a breath. "I'll master every art within these pages, and I'll show them that I'm not to be trifled with." With that solemn promise echoing in his ears, Conrad set to work, poring over the ancient teachings with a fervor that bordered on obsession. He practiced late into the night, pushing himself to the limits of his endurance in his quest for mastery. And as he delved deeper into the mysteries of the book, Conrad felt a transformation taking place within him. With each passing day, he shed the shackles of his former self, emerging stronger, more resilient than ever before. "I won't be their victim," he declared, his voice filled with a newfound confidence. "I'll be their worst nightmare." And so, with the ancient book as his guide and his determination as his fuel, Conrad embarked on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment, ready to rewrite his destiny with every step he took into the unknown.